The deal that ended the government shutdown wasn't just about turning the lights back on and sending federal employees back to work. Baked into this short-term spending bill is a high-stakes provision banning most hemp-derived THC products, barring anything with more than 0.4 milligrams of the drug per container starting next year. That's a big change that would wipe out most of the products you see on the market. The move replaces the definition of hemp, which the federal government deregulated 7 years ago, signaling a major shift in policy. One thing's for sure, these changes will affect a multi-billion-dollar industry, which has exploded these past few years. Hemp naturally has very little THC in it, but it can be made more potent with science. Hemp-derived THC is sold in drinks, edibles, vapes. Critics who push for the change, like Republican Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell, claim there's a lack of regulation and a safety risk.
Products more potent than marijuana can be bought off the shelf of a gas station.
The main sticking point from critics, the concern that some products, especially the edibles, look a lot like actual candies and are marketed to kids. Last year, former Missouri Governor Mike Parson tried to ban intoxicating hemp products, but that effort failed. Supporters argue those stories are the exception, not the rule, and that these changes could kill a booming industry. Last year, Missouri state officials estimated some 40,000 food establishments and smoke shops and 1,800 food manufacturers were selling products that would be affected by this change. Let's get to the heart of the matter with Brooklyn Hill, president of the Missouri Hemp Trade Association. Thanks so much for being here. Obviously, you have a dog in this fight, so first off, I just want to ask what your reaction was when you saw this quickly take shape earlier this month.
Definitely dismayed. I think that, it was disheartening to see that hemp was thrown into the bill that was used to restart the government. But it is what it is. And now we're taking the fight to Missouri legislatively.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, the countdown is on right now to next November when this would take effect. So how does that work for you? What does that look like as far as leaning on the General Assembly?
So this is something that I don't think people are aware of, but the hemp industry, specifically in Missouri, we've been fighting this fight for years. I became president of Mo Hemp Trade Association last year. If you remember the executive order, Governor Parsons holding up the candy, all of those things. So I have been fighting this fight diligently. We actually had the hemp industry. I think there was 5 bills floating around. Ours received like a huge fiscal note. Representative Baker and Senator Trent carried our legislation. So what's interesting about the hemp industry in Missouri and all across the nation is that we're begging to be regulated. We want regulations. We think that it's very important for age gating, packaging restrictions. Most of the good actors in the state of Missouri are already doing those things, 21 and up. You don't market to children. We're trying to put everything behind lock and key. Things like that is what I like to shine a light on, just because there's so much more to the hemp industry than the bad actors that sell the copyright or trademarked candy. I'm sorry.
Well, we know Missouri shuttered its industrial hemp program a few years ago. So how does that affect you right now? How do hemp producers and businesses operate in Missouri?
So I guess the answer to that is there's 2 things that we can do, right? We can fold or we can fight. So something that I've noticed about this industry, and especially the last year and a half, is we're just fighting for everything we can. So something people don't understand is that hemp, up until, right now we have a 365-day shot clock, but up until that point, hemp was federally legal. Marijuana, however, is federally illegal. So in Missouri, we've been able to bank the hemp industry, things like that. So what we're seeing now is all of the people who are really diving into the hemp industry, who have bought extraction equipment or harvesting equipment, all of those things through banking. I mean, that's throwing a red flag there, because you don't know, 365 days from now, if that's even going to be accessible, if it's federally illegal at that point, banking goes down. I think now, like I said, we're just fighting it out. We will have a bill this session. We have a lot of good stakeholders, great people in this industry.
So what sort of a hit would this mean for Missouri?
So I would say what you're going to see is a total loss of jobs from an industry that's begging for regulation. Think David and Goliath. thank all of small businesses, thousands and thousands of people closing doors. You're going to see consumers who are having to drive like 2 times the distance for the stuff that they need, mothers with autistic children who are going to have to pay high taxes. You're going to see veterans who fought for this country and sustained injuries. You're going to see them have to go to a dispensary, give their card, be documented, and then when they go to buy a gun, it's actually a question on the gun survey. So my fear is that instead of being accessible, like our products in our store that are tested, people are going to go back to buying it on the street or the black market.
To that end, what are you telling your members right now as you wait for guidance and try to push forward in Missouri?
Yeah, so we're telling our members for sure, make sure you're being a good actor. Anyone outside of that bubble, we're trying to educate as much as possible, but we're really, really pushing and advocating for, like I said previously, age gating. Make sure you have your COAs. Those are certificates of analysis where you can come in at any time, make sure that our products are federally, compliant. Even though we're not regulated, we're certainly telling people to operate that way.
All right, Brooklyn Hill with the Missouri Hemp Trade Association. Thank you so much for your time. We'll watch for any movement in Jeff City on this and other major issues ahead of the session, which starts in January, and we'll keep you posted every step of the way.